Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind. About your mother?
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to High Tech Low Life, your cyberpunk media retrospective podcast. I am your host, Josh.
And I'm Eric,
the co-host. We are not doing a normal episode this week because we are beginning our summer break. So, instead of talking about a novel or TV show or movie or something like that, we're just going to talk some shit, read some emails. I've got a little bit of a thing loaded up about adaptations.
A little follow-up from last week.
Yeah, and in reference to last week's episode with Kristen. And, we got some stuff. So,
yeah, we need to do these once in a while to clear the backlog of comments and stuff we receive, which we're not going to do. I can't read them all. A lot of the emails we get are people just suggesting other shows we watch or cover, and I love all of those and appreciate all those, but I don't need to read them because hopefully we will get to them, honestly. Yeah. Unless there's some other conversation going on around those recommendos. So
yeah.
Should we start with dystopia talk, though?
Yeah, let's do some dystopia talk.
Set the mood. There's been quite a lot this week. I think right now the most important thing is shit be popping off in Los Angeles.
Yes. Yeah. ICE attempted to raid the garment district, and people were not happy with it. And
rightfully so.
Yeah, and attempted to block ICE from entering businesses and then leaving after they had been inside and stuff like that.
Stopping buses.
As they should be doing.
Yeah, it's a nice show of community and solidarity. Unfortunately, it's getting cracked down pretty hard. It's interesting because LA is a sanctuary city, right? So they're not supposed to aid federal immigration raids, and so far as I can see, they haven't. But ICE has gotten around this by getting basically backed into a corner by protesters and then calling in the cops to help them get out. The cops show up to disperse the protesters, but they aren't necessarily helping ICE either. It's an interesting situation the LAPD's in. I mean, obviously we know which way it's going to go when the chips will be down, who they're going to side with.
Yeah.
But they're not at least full-heartedly backing the Gestapo, so there's something.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting to consider how this might, how this might scale in a couple of different directions, and how this type of thing might transfer to other areas. Because the mayor of Los Angeles is not tremendously progressive, at least that I recall, but is also in, probably the bluest city in the, one of the bluest states. Yeah. So if this same type of thing happened somewhere else, like, say, I don't know, Kansas City, where, sure, the mayor's a Democrat, and it's pretty
But he
blue.
loves the cops.
He does love the fucking pigs. Excited oinking. So, how much this idea could transfer. And then there's also something to keep in mind as this summer kicks off, and it seems like it's going to be another fun one. You know, one thing to remember is that police forces, like any given city's police force, good sized city's police force, can probably handle a 10,000 person protest.
Right.
However, almost no city's police force could possibly handle 1,000 person protests.
Good.
There's a totally different scenario. So keep that in mind, just going forward.
Yeah, that is something to keep in mind. It's also important to point out, as far as the LA protests go, that there's not really been any confirmation that these are ICE agents. Like, they don't identify themselves.
Yeah.
Their faces are covered. They could be, I mean, we're assuming, but I hate to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're federal agents, because there's been no fucking proof or evidence offered up to say that they are. So that's another really interesting bit of thing to keep an eye on as things shake out over the summer. When and if the ICE agents are going to have to start identifying themselves in real legal terms. Because at a point, honestly, should have been months ago, but they need to present things like warrants and stuff like that. But it seems to be a running theme that they do not do this. Yeah. And, the whole just running around looking like masked fucking MEAL Team 6 is not helping. They look like half the jerk-offs you see at Sam's Club on the weekend. Yeah, they don't look like soldiers. They don't look like cops. They look like, cosplaying militias.
They look like jerk-off suburban cosplayers.
And it's not going to surprise me if they bust into the wrong house and somebody assumes, that they aren't actually agents, and, shit goes down.
Or when some that are most certainly not agents decide to pull that whole, I know there are illegals working in the back of this restaurant, so I'm going to, go in and get them.
Some vigilante shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a good time, everybody.
It's really fucking stupid. I know everything is so stupid right now, but man, even on just if you want to be a good fascist, branding is an important part of it, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They like the chaos, because the chaos just gives them more excuses to crack down. So maybe this is stage 1, where you incite chaos, and then stage 2 is you can really bring the boot down.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess that's kind of what happened in Germany.
Yeah. They weren't all in. Well,
there's a lot of street fights and shit. I know that.
Yeah, but actually, what I'm mentally equating it to is, they were the brown shirts, and that's because their uniform, in quote marks, was, kind of a khaki brown shirt, in the same way that the jerk off fucking Proud Boys are polo shirts,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. It's interesting to think of from a branding perspective. Maybe their brand is just a Punisher skull on shit.
Well, it is. They give this. Yeah. It's this Blackwater image of what a tough guy is.
Yeah.
It's not even military anymore. It doesn't look like the military. It looks like something else.
Oh yeah, it's. I was talking about this on the Discord. I don't know, maybe a year ago or something, about. I've got this whole thesis built in the back of my head about how masculinity has been utterly destroyed over the past, I don't know, at this point now, close to 20 years by effectively by Black Hawk Down. And how Black Hawk Down worked, and where it went when Black Hawk Down came out in relation to 9/11, and how the concept of army went from, like, guys in fucking uniforms to dudes in t-shirts with a fucking plate carrier and a beard
and a
ball
backwards
cap.
hat.
Yeah.
Oakley wraparound shades. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's done horrendous things to fashion. And like how men are supposed to dress. And I put that in quote marks. And I really hate it because a lot of it irritatingly aligns with, it is like close to stuff that I wear for simple utility value, because most work pants are available in fucking neutrals.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
And plate carriers are just comfortable.
Oh yeah. I
like to
love.
lounge around in my hammock
Yeah.
with my Punisher skull plate carrier.
Yeah.
Functional and fashionable. Just kidding. Fuck them. Yeah, masculinity. We could go on and on about that.
I feel like we probably could.
I wanted to talk really quickly. This isn't really dystopia talk. It's more just news talk. But I've been kind of lightly following the New York City mayoral race. And I watched I saw clips of the debates where they were asking everybody where they would go on their first mayoral trip.
Okay.
And turned it into turned the whole situation into like this weird pro-Israel thing, and calling out the one Muslim candidate
cool
for not saying he would go to Israel, which is a really weird thing to ask of a New York City mayoral candidate.
Yeah, I agree. I apparently missed this entirely.
Oh, wow. You're lucky. Anyway, I don't know. We haven't talked about Israel-Palestine in a while. I mean, we did a little bit last week in relation to the Hunger Games, but it's just like the disconnect between people. Like, it's like we're living in completely different worlds. The stuff I see and read about happening every day, and then the pro-Israel people, they just don't see. They either just don't see the stuff, or they justify the things that are happening. Well, I'm just rambling, but I can't believe it, man. It blows my fucking mind every day.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what Kristen was saying last week about, and related to the movie, how there are societally enforced differences in how we are allowed to perceive violence and who gets to be a victim. These people on what I would call the other side of the line from me think that, well, look, okay, those rail skin Palestinian 6-year-olds, I mean, those are just going to turn into terrorists in the future, so it's okay. I mean, there's just going to be more of them, and
I can't imagine going through life thinking that, though. It seems like
I agree. I have morals.
Yeah. How can you be a person that thinks that and like exist in a society with other human beings? Like,
well, the thing is, a lot of the time, those people do not think that they live in a society with other human beings, or rather, they think that only certain people are human beings, or that certain human beings are people.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I for one am pretty excited to see when that UK registered boat carrying Greta Thunberg shows up and gets fucking torpedoed by the Israelis. Like, what's that going to look like?
Fuck, dude. I don't know. Like, at one point, when I first heard that, I'm like, oh, that sounds... I thought it looked kind of bad. It's like, oh, Greta Thunberg is inserting herself into something. But then the more I'm thinking, like, no, she knows what she's doing. She knows there's a very good chance that she's going to martyr herself. Like, she has to know that.
Yeah, and she has been, for the past... How long are we into the current age of Israel-Palestine shit? Fucking year and 8 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's been on the right side the whole time and pretty publicly. It's just that the media at some point decided to stop covering her because she was no longer a 14-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, she's just a grown woman now. Uninteresting.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I hope that boat of people is okay and gets some aid to those people that are being starved.
Yeah, it's no good. From a purely selfish standpoint, I want to stop seeing starving children on my fucking Bluesky feed. That makes me feel bad. I have a bad day when I'm seeing a bunch of that. I'd rather see cats. So if we could do away with starving children, take care of that problem, that'd be great. I would love that.
Well, Josh, I got good news and bad news. The good news, we as a human race could completely do away with all starving children and all starving people. We have the ability. But I do have some bad news.
Oh, what's that?
It's probably not going to happen because a couple of really super rich guys don't want it to.
Yeah, that sounds right. Speaking of a couple of super rich guys, just a couple of real fucking alpha males going at it with each other.
Oh, baby. Yeah, we haven't talked about this yet. Fuck, forgot about it.
I just remembered when you said...
You're talking about phallocentric arguing, right?
Yes.
Not gynocentric.
Just a couple of guys with giant hairy nuts bouncing off each other.
In a totally manly way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Trump and Elon are fighting, or at least they were fighting since our last recording, which would have been fun to talk about with Kristen. It's too bad.
Yeah.
What a week it's been.
It really has. On the one hand, I'm not hugely qualified to talk about this stuff. On the other hand, I have been led down some internet rabbit holes this past week of, just post copies of screenshots where in the past week I have seen some of the absolute gayest shit I have ever seen in my life. And I mean that totally non-judgmentally, just do these guys, these people who are making this post, do they understand that they're
it's pride, man. They're just letting it hang out.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it is just because it's pride.
They can finally be themselves. So quick, everybody knows, but quick recap. Elon doesn't like Trump's big, beautiful bill because once a year, Elon is right about something. Yeah. And said so, of course, always for the wrong reasons. So
yeah. As per usual, it's that Onion article from 20 years ago.
Right,
the worst person you know is right.
And he called Trump out on it, and Trump was basically like, "Well, Elon only has money because of government contracts, and maybe we should cancel those." And then Elon's like, "Oh yeah."
And
Trump's
then
a
I was
pedophile.
like, oh shit, it's exactly like that Onion headline where the worst person you know.
They keep being right back and forth.
And then it becomes that Inception gif, let them fight.
Yeah, exactly. And Elon's like, Trump's a pedophile. He's on the Epstein documents. And we're all like, yeah, we know.
We've also got a picture of you. So,
yeah. And then Trump's like, maybe I should deport this guy. He wasn't here legally. And it's like, you guys knew all the shit. You knew he was a pedophile when you paid millions of dollars to get him elected. You knew he was not here legally when he first got here. Yeah. And you still took his money. Like, this looks so bad for both of you, but they don't care. And they're fans. I don't know how their fans are handling it. Not well. Gaily, apparently.
Yeah. Very hypersexually.
Kanye.
Oh, yeah.
Basically tweeted out pleading for mommy and daddy to stop fighting because he loves them both so much.
Yeah, because he's a sane and normal guy.
Normal dude.
Yeah.
Some of the chuds are taking sides. I've seen various tweets of various people taking different sides. Bannon is firmly on Trump's side.
Yeah, and, the first time I'd heard Alex Jones's name in a while, he popped up.
He's on Elon's side.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
I think so. He's like, whoa, Trump's on the Epstein papers. I never would have thought. Yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't have
Yeah.
thought. There's 100 pictures of them together.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the tea has been spilling.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend, but boy, do I love to see my enemies fighting. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Let them burn each other down. I don't honestly know who has the most power between them.
that's hard to say. Yeah.
Stephen Miller is not having a good time in the middle of it all. Sounds like he's losing his wife to Elon, which is
I believe you mean Count Orlok with his mustache shaved off.
yeah. I hate that guy. I really do.
Yeah, he is really a ghoul, and he is younger than us.
Oh wow, that's horrifying.
Yeah, he has looked like that for 10 years, 15. Yeah, he is younger than we are. It's one of those things where you go, oh yeah, so you became a right-wing ghoul because you look like a right-wing ghoul? Is that the case? Or did the job mold you into this appearance?
I mean, a case could be made for that. I mean, like look at some of the high-ranking Nazis. It looks like they have been molded.
Yeah.
I mean, there are very few hot fascists, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably why kind of the branding and the uniforms are historically so fucking tight.
Right.
And, that's got to do so much work.
Yeah.
I mean, look at fucking Mussolini. Jesus Christ, that guy was a woof.
Yeah.
His head was a deeply unnatural shape.
Yeah, especially at the end.
Yeah. Before he was a fascist leader, he was a fucking elementary school teacher up in the fucking Piedmont or the Italian Alps. Like, what must his students have thought with this giant oblong fucking melon with that jawline attached to it? Like, what did his students think?
Oh man. When we started doing dystopia talk, things were kind of bad and appeared to be getting worse. I never thought we'd be here with the richest man in the world and the president of the United States, like arguing like teen girls.
Yeah.
And calling each other pedophiles, and while their fucking brown shirts abduct people out of their homes and
cars catch fire, rockets explode. Yeah.
Glad we live to see it.
Yeah, it's that old ancient Chinese curse of living in interesting times. I mean, these are objectively interesting times. I do not like it.
Nope. I want it to go back to uninteresting times, please.
As somebody who studied a lot of history, my comment on the whole thing is,
Agreed. Seconded.
I was trying to keep that from blanking me out.
I think you did. It worked.
Okay,
I heard it all. Let's move past this. Although these days, all talk is peppered with dystopia talk, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What else would we do?
I shouldn't feel bad that we're going long on dystopia because we don't have a lot of other stuff to talk about. So
yeah, I kept glancing at the clock and thinking, should we cut this off? No, wait. We're free today.
Yeah, we're free. The constraints of our own format can't hold us. Let's do some quick recommendos, though. I don't think I have any.
I have one, sort of. I'll call that a recommendo. Well, okay, 1.5. I watched Predator, Killer of Killers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the animated anthology, sort of.
Okay.
On Hulu. And it was like, I don't know, it's one of those things that's going to be kind of impossible for me to judge. Like, yeah, it rules. I mean, was it any good? Yeah, it's fine, whatever, but it rules,
Yeah. I feel like that about like Captain Laserhawk. Was it good? I don't know, but it did rule.
Yeah, I think that's it's I think it's hour and 40 minutes or an hour and a half, something like that. There are like 3 main segments. It's spread through history. If you haven't seen the trailer, go look at it. It's a really neat looking animation style, although there were some parts that, it's like the frame rate was wrong for my head or something. But there's like some fucking Viking shit, Predators fighting Vikings. Great. Who doesn't want to see that?
No,
then there's, the next one is Predators versus fucking samurai and ninja. Great.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, perfect. You got fucking ninjas leaping over fucking rooftops and a predator shooting shit at him.
Do the Predators fight cowboys? I feel like that could be fun.
There were no cowboys in this one, but I'm not saying there couldn't be more of these. And then the third one is Northern Atlantic 1943.
Wow.
It's Predator versus fighter pilots.
Okay.
And then at the end, it all comes together on a predator planet. And you're like, fucking A. It's people, you just, it's fucking predators doing shit that's fun. Like, it doesn't need to be anything, but it rules. And there's a little cameo at the end where we see Amber Midthunder's character from Prey. So,
cool.
Yeah. And I assume, like, based on the implication of some stuff in it, like the way shots lingered and stuff, I assume this is going to tie into the live action one that's coming out later this summer.
Yeah.
Involving, I don't know, what seems like some kind of fucking bullshit predator mythology that I don't fucking care about.
Yeah. The trailer really turned me off.
I don't know. I didn't get much out of that. But it also, based on how this thing went, I wonder if the trailer isn't intentionally misleading us on stuff that could happen. Anyway, if you want to see some pretty cool kind of painting looking animation shit of fucking Vikings fighting a predator,
kind of reminded me of the Arcane animation style. I don't know if you watched any of that.
I have seen like the trailer, and that's about right.
Yeah, which I really like. So I didn't care for Arcane as much as some people, but the animation is very pretty.
Yeah, the art on all the segments is really cool looking. But like I said, sometimes the animation of the art just kind of clicked a little wrong, but then other times it was totally fine. I don't know what the deal was with that.
All right. I finished a couple shows I've been watching. I finished The Studio. I don't know if you recommended that or not.
I think I did, yeah.
It's got some very funny high points and some really boring points too. So it's kind of a mixed bag show.
I think that is a show that I liked, but I probably liked it maybe a little more than you did. And like, you are about the bottom level of people who are knowledgeable and interested in anything Hollywood that is going to get anything out of it.
Yeah, less than me. That show is going to fall completely flat.
Yeah, it's going to be largely incomprehensible.
Yeah.
And I think that is exactly how appreciation of that show scaled. Like TV critics or movie critics who are talking about the TV show are like, this is fucking amazing. And people inside the industry are like, this is incredible. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Going down a sliding scale to, I'm reasonably knowledgeable about Hollywood shit and how it works. And then you're about a step or two below me in that. And I think that just like under you, it bottoms the fuck out.
Like a lot of the jokes I knew were aimed at people who like had more knowledge about the industry. Like I could see what was happening. I just didn't care enough to get the joke.
Yeah.
But that said, it's got a lot of other jokes that anybody will get.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
a whole bunch of people rolling on shrooms. That's pretty fucking hilarious.
I think Barinholtz fucking blowing rails.
Yeah, that was dude. That was very funny. It's got some good moments, but some of the episodes are just drags, which maybe they aren't if you're a movie nerd guy.
I mean, I found the show more uneven than I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Do you have another one?
Actually, yes, I do. Since you brought up the studio, I would like to reiterate my recommendo from a few weeks ago. Everybody, watch fucking Poker Face.
Oh yeah, I've been watching that.
The most recent episode was an absolute banger, and the reason it tied in is because Steve Buscemi has been appearing in this season vocally.
Was he in the most recent episode?
No, he was not in the most recent episode.
I don't know if I'm fully caught up. What's the most recent one?
The most recent one is the heist episode.
Okay, yes, I am fully caught up then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that episode a lot.
That episode, like, seriously, that episode was built like a trap for me.
Yeah, I could see that. I liked it even though it wasn't built as a trap for me. It trapped me too, because I haven't seen Heat. I like heist movies enough, but it was just a really well executed episode.
It really was. It hit so many points of like, what do I love in entertainment? Well, there's fucking, the concept of a heist movie. There's Sam Richardson, who is hilarious.
He's great.
Fucking Geraldine Viswanathan, who is great. She was on, what the hell was that Daniel Radcliffe show with Steve Buscemi again?
Harry Potter.
No. It jumped through history. Miracle Workers. And was also in the Joel Cohen movie 2 years ago, Drive Away Dolls. She is very fucking funny. She was the rom-com obsessed co-worker. Yeah.
I've guessed by the name.
Oh, yeah. And fucking James Ransone, Ziggy from The Wire.
The funny thing is, as I was watching it and she was talking about rom-coms and everybody else was talking about heists, I was talking to my wife and like, what these people don't understand is they aren't in a rom-com and they aren't in a heist movie. They're in a mystery.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to fucking die.
They don't understand they've wandered into a Columbo episode.
So it's super layered. Oh, such a great episode. And all of them this season have been quite good.
Yeah, I have continued to very much enjoy that show.
Let's move on to some of our bullshit. What do you say?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm into
Bullshit. Shall we, since we're talking about other films, you had some words on adaptation of properties, and it seems like this is a good place to drop it in before we start reading emails.
Yeah, I can roll on that.
Okay, because I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so after our last week's episode, and actually some before we finished last week's episode, I have some thoughts about adaptations and how things need to move between mediums as opposed to media. And like I talked on that episode a fair amount about how like what I understand the story of the book to be is not something that's suited to a movie. You either need to cut out, a huge chunk of it, or go ahead and knock it into multiple movies or a limited series, something like that.
Yeah.
Because like there are certain limitations to the form of a movie. Kind of as a general rule, you need to be between, 90 minutes and I guess these days, like for a big movie, like 3:15, something like that.
Hopefully.
Which I hate, but that's what people accept, I suppose.
What would you consider a good adaptation just to set the scale?
I was actually thinking about that.
Because I know I'm a fanboy, but I would probably go with Villeneuve's Dunes.
Yeah, I think the Dunes are a really good example of that. The Lord of the Rings films are great examples of, Peter Jackson did a really good job of, okay, I need to cram this much shit into this much time. How do I do it? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And and all adaptations need to make, they end up needing to make cuts or expanding stuff or whatever. Oh, actually, the most kind of coloring outside the lines version of really great adaptation is the Greta Gerwig Little Women from 5 years ago,
Okay.
with Saoirse Ronan.
Sure.
Saoirse Ronan, who was in a Talking Heads video this week.
Cool.
Did you see that?
I saw the video existed. I did not watch it.
I mean, it's a pretty cool video. I think that's an interesting thing about, like, the media landscape now, that the Talking Heads, 4 people who have not so much as looked in each other's direction for 45 years at this point, decided, look, our songs aren't getting as much play on YouTube as we would like because it's just static album art.
Yeah.
What if we pay a director and a fancy actress to make a video?
A lot of bands are doing it, and I'm kind of into it. I don't know. It's a weird trend.
I'm not against it. It just threw into stark relief, like, oh yeah, David Byrne actually, like, actively hates these people.
Yeah.
He wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire, and yet we're signing contracts about getting a pretty big deal off the ground. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Greta Gerwig's Little Women is a really good version of how you adapt something without necessarily adhering to the structure of the thing you're starting with. But anyway, what I was getting at is that there have been a couple of really notable adaptation failures recently, very recently, in terms of like the Hunger Games, and also I'm specifically talking about The Last of Us, which the second season came out and, like, it ended, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, something like that. And I watched it, and I watched the first season as well when it came out, and it was really good. I have never played any of the games. I've never played the games. I don't know anything about any of that shit other than some nerds online yelling about how Bella Ramsey isn't pretty or something. And I don't know, but that's a totally different subset of problems.
Yeah.
And then the second season came out, and the second season is based on what I understand, a very shockingly faithful adaptation of the second game. And it was also a horrible season of television. It did, like, the creators, and, I think Craig Mazin is the kind of main producer and creative force outside of, I don't know, I can't think of the name of the guy who wrote the games, but Craig Mazin basically directly adapted, with one exception episode-wise, the first half of the second Last of Us game, and it works terribly as a 9-episode TV season. Watching it, like, most of the episodes, you go, oh yeah, that's cool. That was pretty good. But there's no effective arc to the season. Just the way it doesn't build to anything really. And then when it ends in a weird place. Like, there's a very obvious fake out cliffhanger, where this is such an obvious fake out that I'm just going to fucking say it. It appears that a character shoots Bella Ramsey in the face, so obviously she's dead. How can the show go on?
Right. So,
Yeah. And it's so obviously a bullshit nonsense cliffhanger. Now, that could absolutely work if that was the midpoint of a season of television. Instead, that was the 9th episode of 9 episodes that started airing a solid 2.5 years after the first season ended.
Yeah.
So let's just assume minimum there's going to be, let's call it 2 years, 2 years before another episode of this show airs. You've got a season that doesn't actually build to anything because it's very apparently literally half of a video game.
Right. Yeah.
um, and then and then we as the audience, like, this would be it'd be a perfectly great, it'd be a fine mid-season finale, like the type of thing that airs the first week of December.
Yeah. I remember when they used to do that.
Yeah. Okay, the audience has to wait a
Go on
month
Christmas
or two.
break. Yeah.
The audience has to wait a month or 6 weeks, and they come back and they're like, you see the previous Leon, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, fucking Bella Ramsey got shot. Shit. And then we see what happens next.
It turns out shooting this child in the face aged her 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is what's going to actually happen.
That's true. Although, fortunately, Bella Ramsey has a unique and interesting enough looking face that I don't think it shows on them nearly as much as it would had they cast nearly any other. I don't know. I don't remember how old they were when the first season aired. 17 or 19 or something.
Yeah.
But
it's not a Stranger Things situation.
No. Oh God, man, I don't know if you saw the trailer for the final season of that, which comes out, I don't know,
I have not.
9 months from now. But fuck, dude, those kids have they're concerned with their IRAs now and 501ks.
Yeah,
and Finn Wolfhard's on his second wife. He's starting a garage band with his buddy who brews his own beer.
What's his name? The older one who's is on his second knee replacement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's that show, man. That's one of those amazing shows that is somehow still in the zeitgeist, even though it clearly drove full speed off of a cliff.
Yeah.
The first season of Stranger Things, I should actually go back and watch the first season of Stranger Things, because I remember it as being just a beautiful and perfect example of hey, this is what you can do with, kind of what since became the streaming structure. And then, boy, whew.
Yeah. They couldn't just let it die because it's such a cash cow, but I don't know why they didn't just film them faster, but whatever. We're not talking about Stranger Things.
Yeah, not an adaptation, although it really wishes it was.
Yeah, it acts like it was.
Yeah. So, that's another. God, why I have to stop saying it. The Last of Us is another major failure of adaptation, and that's, I think, kind of the same thing in terms of you've got this property. In Hunger Games, it's this big book. In The Last of Us, it's this video game, and are failing to adapt it correctly to the structures inherent to the medium of TV or movie. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there have always been failures like that, but it seems like it's more common now, I think in part because of the way just the entertainment business works.
Yeah.
There are only two viable structures for stuff to be in. Either it has to be a fucking movie stretched out over a 10 episode, what would be a movie plot stretched out over a 10 episode limited series with a bunch of fucking absolute nonsense in it, or, compressed down to a 3-hour movie.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it ties in directly to what you're saying now, but it seems like back in the day, I remember at some point realizing a lot more movies I watched were adaptations than I'd thought. And they used to not care about the built-in fan base of whatever they were adapting, I feel like. And now I feel like they have to tip their cap to this fan base so they can get them to come to the theater or whatever. Yeah. And that fucks up the movie in some cases. Maybe having somebody who is completely separate from that world in some cases makes a better adaptation.
I think you're absolutely right.
Like I thought The Shining was a good movie, and it was nothing like the book, right? I don't know if that's a good one to
I
bring up.
don't. I think that's a perfectly adequate one to bring up. I mean, you've got the as much like honestly, I think the fact that Stephen King hates the Kubrick Shining so much is points in its favor.
Right.
I think that's one of those things like where he's telling on himself. He doesn't like how accurate that
Yeah.
movie is. Yeah, you've got guy caretaker hotel snowed in the Rockies. um, Goes crazy, kills his family. Ghosts, alcoholism doesn't make a difference. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, that's actually a wonderful example of an adaptation that is in fact better than its source.
And there are some people who adapt. Goddamn. I don't remember what that name of that. He was big in the early 2000s. There was that guy who was getting all the video games to direct movies for them, and he obviously didn't give a shit about anything and made utter trash. Oh, his name became a meme for a while.
Uwe Boll.
Uwe Boll, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously he didn't care about the things he was adapting. He was just churning out,
Yeah.
mounds of cash. So I don't know. I feel like there is a balance between respecting the original work and making something new, because it has to be new because it's a new format.
Yeah, and that's why I don't know. I had a couple of fairly extensive arguments with one of our former friends years ago, kind of back circa 2010, 2012, about the like Marvel films and kind of how they were working, and he was consistently angry that I don't know. Well, this movie, whatever, this Iron Man movie mentions, Tony Stark's an alcoholic. Like, he's got a drinking problem. And he was repeatedly angry that, if they're going to mention that, then it should automatically turn into an adaptation of the Demon in a Bottle storyline from fucking 1982 or whenever the hell that was printed. And that's an insane thing to think. There's you can't do that shit. Like I think already the Marvel movies and most of the adaptation stuff that I see goes way too far in coddling the fucking man babies who are pissed because Scarlett Johansson is C cup and the Black Widow is traditionally drawn as a double D. So I mean, I can't jack off to that.
Well, that's a big problem with media in general, is making sure the chuds can jack off properly.
Yeah, but and that's another, like, I don't know, that's another The Last of Us thing that is off the fucking rails.
Yeah, it is. I've heard some of that discourse.
I am not going to get into that at all. It is utterly crazy.
I have another quick example of something from a director who is a good director who truly loved his source material and made a really bad movie, and that's the Warcraft adaptation.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big Warcraft fan of the lore specifically, and I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed watching it, but I could also, as a movie fan, recognize that movie was trash. And that's because it was made for me. It was made for me and the people who played it, and it wasn't made to be a good movie.
Yeah, I watched, I think it was last summer. I thought, I'm going to give this a shot because I think you had mentioned it on the show. Or
we talked about it a little bit on the Mute episode.
Yeah. I watched that last summer, and I think I got to 25 minutes in, and then I was like, this place could really use a fucking vacuum. All right, I'm going to vacuum, and then never went back to it. Like, which is maybe the most damning indictment I can give a film.
Pretty damning. The problem is, I was on the forums when that movie came out, and there were still people who were pissed off that it wasn't good enough, that they didn't go into enough detail about this war and that war and this battle. And it's like, you're never going to make everybody happy, especially on these things where there's been like years of developed lore being piled on top. You got to do something completely different.
I always wonder, every couple of years, the idea of a big budget Warhammer movie swings around
Yeah.
like for a hot minute. And I always think like, those people are absolutely fucking insane. Like,
Yeah.
your movie studio is going to get blown up, like with actual bombs.
With real bombs. They're doing a TV series, aren't they? Isn't Cavill
Yes.
involved? Henry Cavill?
Yeah, God, I don't know which way to say his name. Yes, they are, or they were. I don't remember hearing anything about it for 6 months or so, but
It's risky.
it really is, because I mean, I have enjoyed a little bit of Warhammer in the past. Those people are fucking deranged.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are deranged in the most wonderful, on the right side of history ways.
Oh man, it ranges the spectrum of deranged people.
It really does. That is
Warhammer accepts all.
Yeah, there is a reason that in England it's called the hobby, all caps. Like, because literally any human being you see could be into the hobby.
God, that does sound ominous.
Yeah.
Well, so back to your original point, because I feel like we digressed a little bit.
Oh God, did I have a point? Shit.
I don't know. Like, The Last of Us, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen The Last of Us. I've heard horrible things, which is what stopped me from watching it, because I loved the first season.
Like, I think it's a totally all right thing to watch, but don't expect it to be a good season of TV. Expect it to be 6 or, I guess 9 reasonably entertaining separate episodes of television that have no cohesive arc at all.
But the first season was so oppressive and sad and depressing that the only thing that kept me together was the good overarching story. Like, if it's just these little depressing vignettes, I don't want to fucking watch that.
Yeah, fair. That's totally reasonable. And I mean, there's some good stuff in it. I don't know if anything in the second season reaches the height of the Nick Offerman Murray Bartlett episode of the first.
Honestly, when I think back to that season, that's the episode I think about. That's really the only one that made a seriously lasting impression. Maybe when they were fighting through Kansas City, that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Homer.
What was the biggest mistake, do you think, that Abosis, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which, by the way, I typed 1 million times last week.
I'm sure.
Getting that episode up.
Yeah.
It is a long fucking title.
It really is. I think, like I said in the episode and then earlier, it is simply impossible to actively adapt that into a movie. Like,
oh, really? You think so?
Yeah, I think you could, like, it would actually be a really interesting exercise had they just, I don't know. Okay, so years and years ago, on The Way of the Gun, okay, the Christopher McQuarrie film starring Benicio del Toro, Ryan Phillippe, Juliette Lewis, and, oh man, fucking Grams' boyfriend.
Yeah, the old guy.
Yeah. What is his name? Also, James Caan. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, James Caan is the main. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
God,
so
he's
this
so
was
good. Grams' boyfriend.
Yeah,
not Clifford
really,
Smalls.
No, he's not. Fuck. What is? I can't look him up and keep my train of thought. Anyway, that's Christopher McQuarrie's first movie that he directed. He wrote The Usual Suspects, which then totally normal, nice guy Bryan Singer directed.
Mm-hmm. We like him. He never done anything wrong.
No, a guy who is. I cannot say that.
We are being facetious. He is bad.
Yes. So it's a very much late 1990s post Tarantino crime movie. And it's got some really bumpy shit in it, but it rules.
Yeah.
The thing is, when he was getting this movie made, he said he went into a studio and he got a deal and, okay, we're going to pay this much for the movie and you can direct, blah, blah, blah. And then the studio execs kept saying to him, what's the backstory? Like, okay, this movie focuses on these two characters, Benicio del Toro and Ryan Phillippe. Like, why are these guys together? Their names in the Their names in the movie are Parker and Longbaugh, which is after Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Going back to Robert Redford 2 weeks ago.
Everything's connected.
Yeah. So, and he kept saying, who cares? The backstory is a trailer. I mean, it doesn't fucking matter. Like,
Right.
we know these guys are criminals. They do crime things together. Who gives a shit? Like, why do we need to know their first love and when they met? So his idea, and
it's not the movie with Sarah Silverman getting punched in the face.
Yes, in the first 1.5 minutes, she just gets blasted out of her shoes.
Yeah.
And it is very funny.
Yeah.
You like to fuck baby heads?
You like to fuck babies? Yeah.
So his idea was, because the execs kept harassing him about what's their backstory. They need to have backstory and connection and stuff. He tried to con them into giving him the money to shoot a totally fresh trailer, which is just little like insert shots and basically a montage of them like the two characters, like, I don't know, meeting in some weird context and then doing a bunch of like insane crime bullshit. And none of it would ever appear in the film, but like it was just fun bullshit that he couldn't fit into a plot. Like, I don't know, there's like a dogfighting ring, and fucking Benicio del Toro has a sniper rifle and shoots one of the dogs so it loses. Which, I mean, would be a hilarious thing to have in a movie trailer. But so, yeah, something that's stuck with me for 30 years now almost is backstory as a trailer. So what you do with Hunger Games Babadook,
yes,
is you make a trailer of the first 2 acts of the book, right?
And then focus on the third act.
And then, focus on the third act. Like, because the third act is hugely the most interesting thing in it, at least according to what we saw on screen. Like, the second act is, okay, we're doing a lightly modified version of shit that every teenage girl saw 10 years ago in the theater.
Yeah.
And the first act is, at least in the movie, is so fucking thin that it kind of doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, you don't have to do it as a trailer, but do it as like a 10-minute montage or something with some voiceover. I don't know, something like that to cover the first 2 fucking acts of the book. And then you start at fucking Coriolanus getting shipped out to the provinces. And that would, I don't know if it would work, but it would at least be like, it would at least be interesting, and it would have a chance of working because it really feels like there's a good 3-act structure in the Coriolanus in District 12 shit. You know, he makes his choices, he ends up destroying his friend, etc., etc.
Yeah. The whole love story can actually have time to breathe.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so heavily rushed.
Yeah, and if you don't do that, then there's almost a gun to your head. If you don't do something radical like that, there's almost a gun to your head that says, okay, well, you've got to make 3 fucking movies, because otherwise this is going to be minimum 5 hours fucking long.
Yeah.
Because the front, Act 1 is, like I said, super fucking thin. I mean, it's
boring.
It gives you a tiny bit of context to, like, this is the capital, but almost nothing else. Mm-hmm. The second act is the Hunger Games again.
Yeah, the second act is interesting, but we've seen it before. Yeah,
and, I don't know. It's I also thought about, okay, what if you could do it as 2 movies? Do the, like, because I assume the first act is meatier in the book than we got in the film. Like, what if you do the first act and then it ends with a 10-minute montage of like the first half of the second act?
Yeah.
And then the second movie starts with the back half, a 10-minute montage of the back half of the second act. It. Because I am like, look, the Hunger Games shit it was so successful in the first movies that you can't gain anything by going back over that ground. I mean,
yeah, and we've seen it. Like we saw Battle Royale. We've seen kids killing each other, and it's been done better by the original Hunger Games. Like,
yeah,
I was surprised that they spent so much time on the arena fight. In that movie.
I was too. Yeah, you can't win doing that again. It's
right,
And
they kind of had the excuse of, well, this was a more primitive version of it, but even then, like that makes it less interesting.
Yeah,
whatever.
More primitive version.
We spent 3 hours talking about that movie.
Yeah,
we don't need to.
And I mean, Kristen made some incredible points in that episode.
No, 100%.
Turned me around on a number of aspects of it, but I still think it is a flawed and crippled creature from the start.
Yeah, now, her one comment about the arena fight, where the Reaper makes his little stand, was I was thinking about her comment on that all week. Actually, it was correct.
Yep. She was a great guest.
All right, it is time to read some emails and Spotify comments because we're masochists. No, that's not true. We have nice listeners. I mean, I don't know what
we're allowed our extracurricular activities.
Sure. No judgment. I'm going to just start this off with an email we got just a couple days ago from Kevin, who has sent us he always sends us very thought-provoking emails. Hey guys, I have another, okay. I need to remember how to read first.
Great start. Learn words. Okay.
I've had another pretentious question for Josh rolling around in my head for a while. My last question was more of a request for Josh's opinion, but this one is a bit more antagonistic since I'm disagreeing with something Josh said.
Again, fuck you.
I've debated if I actually wanted to send this, but since you guys will be covering Hunger Games movie this week, I figured I'd send it just in case Josh might address some of my concerns while discussing the movie. Here goes. About a year ago, Josh made a point about how there isn't a definitive list of elements that determine whether something is cyberpunk, but there is a list of elements where the more items are fulfilled, the more likely something is to be cyberpunk. I think he's comparing it to defining the Aztec Empire or something. Anyway, in the next couple episodes, Josh would mention which elements of cyberpunk the recently reviewed work had, and in both cases, he said, quote, there's a rebellion. And I disagree with that one. In my opinion, the presence of a rebellion reduces how cyberpunk something is, with the one exception of if the rebellion is doomed to fail. For example, Johnny Silverhand in 2077 attempting to blow up Arasaka, or David from Edge Runners also attempting to blow up Arasaka. And both of them failed. I think it's an important aspect of cyberpunk is that the megacorps are simply too big to be brought down. To successfully bring down a megacorp would mean it was never big enough to belong in a cyberpunk world in the first place. It makes the story less cyberpunk. Also, in my opinion, there's a difference between punk and a rebel. A punk has a middle finger in the air, resistance to authority, but it's directionless. It's frustration and it's anger, but there's no plan. A rebel, on the other hand, has a plan. A rebel has a desire to change the system and a vision for what the system should look like afterwards. But it isn't a rebellion if it's only one person. Changing the system requires a group of people, most likely an army. It requires leaders with a vision and soldiers to carry it out. And it gets too close to military sci-fi for my liking. The more we lean away from low-life punks, the more it leans closer to military discipline. Again, less cyberpunk in my opinion. And then last paragraph, he says, to approach this from a different angle, one major influence on the cyberpunk genre, at least in the US, is hard-boiled detective novels. Josh knows more about those than I do, so I might get this wrong, but I believe one aspect of hard-boiled detective novels is the police force being ineffective / incompetent, yet the hard-boiled detective isn't trying to change or fix the system with police reform. He is adapted to the world by working within those cracks in the system. He knows the police won't be of any help, and he also knows how to work outside their reach to make things happen. Basically, rather than trying to change the world, he's found how he fits into it. And to me, that's the optimism of cyberpunk. It isn't about overthrowing the system. It's about finding your place in the world, finding where you belong and the people, things you care about. So while I can see how some people might look at cyberpunk world and say it's nihilistic, I say to have a rebellion in a cyberpunk world is to not understand where the optimism is and is a misunderstanding of the setting in the genre. Of course, I'm not saying the presence of a rebellion means something can't be cyberpunk. I'm saying it's a point against, not for. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. You may now tear my argument to shreds. I think this is a fantastic question. And Kevin, every pretentious email you send us, I enjoy. So please keep them coming. Even if we don't get to them right away, we will try to get to them because they're fodder for good conversation.
Yes.
Josh,
agreed.
would you wish to tear it to shreds, or do you agree?
I don't think I want to tear it to shreds, but I also don't agree. So I think there's an inherently a little bit of a both philosophical and semiotic difference in what he is talking about and what I'm talking about, or at least how we both perceive these things. I think, and I would definitely have to, as you know, we don't remember anything on the show. Like once it's posted to the feed, like it just wipes itself from our memory.
Yeah.
But going in, like, I'll address this vaguely in order. So his first thing talking about how I talked about how there's a list of elements where, more items are fulfilled, the more likely something is to be cyberpunk.
It sounds like something you'd say.
Yeah, I definitely remember that metaphor. It wasn't the Aztecs; it was Mesoamerica as a concept, but the Aztec Empire is contained within that. So whatever. Right. And then he says in the next couple episodes, Josh would mention which elements were of cyberpunk the recently reviewed work had. I really wish I had any idea what those were. That's a big hole in what I'm talking about. But he says that in both cases, I said there's a rebellion. I would posit that a rebellion is not in any way inherent to cyberpunk, but the concept of rebellion is.
Okay. I agree.
I think there is superficially they seem the same, but there is a difference between a rebellion and rebellion, right? Is that?
I think I know what you're saying. I wouldn't hate it if you explained it a little further.
Okay, good. I was hoping that you would say blah 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 blah, and that would lead me to be able to explain further. But so yeah, and also okay, and then jumping ahead to the end of his email when he's talking about the hard-boiled detective novels, and often the police force is ineffective, incompetent, whatever, or at least not involved with the case. And he says the hard-boiled detective isn't trying to change or fix the system, but he fits within the cracks in the system. And I would say that working within the cracks of the system is, in fact, rebellion. I mean, the way societal structures tend to be set up, especially in terms of, like, say, if we want to really go back into, hard-boiled detective novels, you've got the rich, basically, often whoever hired the detective to do something.
Yeah.
The police, who are usually if they're not a non-entity, they are a antagonistic side character, effectively, to the primary, to the main character. And then there are the lower classes, and then there's the detective, who is situated effectively as part of the lower classes. He is clearly not part of the law enforcement, police structures, even if he had been previously, at some point. He is able to cross the boundaries of all of those because he is outside the system, and existing outside of these structures is in itself rebellious, right?
Does that make it punk?
I think my biggest argument with Kevin is his thing about how punk is flipping off authority but is directionless, and that is different from rebellion,
which has direction and I guess organization is kind of what he's getting at.
I guess so. And yeah, I fundamentally disagree with that. I think punk being directionless, I'm just unhappy with the way things are, is a very surface level read of not not all punks or punk movements, but most punk or punk movements.
Right.
I think that's very much a commentator on the BBC in 1979 talking about how dare they say God save the Queen. How dare they sing that song? They have nothing alternative to offer. Which, sure, the Sex Pistols didn't. The punk movement that they were a part of certainly did. Mm-hmm. Increase democracy. Maybe don't go around invading shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's a kind of understandable position. Like, oh, punks don't actually agree, don't actually want anything. They just want,
they're just angry and expressing it.
Yeah, which, sure, definitely a lot of people who had fucking mohawks in 1982 were that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a big fucking mistake to tar and feather entire movements with that idea. That's like, going back to another Sex Pistols metaphor. Okay, so they had anarchy in the UK, which is, the Punk Pistols, or the Sex Pistols were kind of a boy band, effectively. I mean, they're fun and they have some high energy songs, but they're effectively the boy band of punk.
Right.
Anarchy is a serious political philosophy, which, sure, if you don't think about it a lot, like many teenagers don't, and the Sex Pistols almost certainly did not,
right,
is nothing more than, I don't want to have a boss and go to school.
Yeah.
But it's actually a very serious branch of political philosophy.
Yeah, a lot of people put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, you can't say that anarchism is underthought.
Yeah. In fact, thinking is what they do the most of.
There are generations of brilliant people who would shout you down for that. And I think,
and one of them killed a president. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. I don't remember how far in I was going.
Well, I wanted to bring up another thing too that he mentions about like Arasaka being too big to fail, or these corporations being impossible to bring down. And I would disagree that that's an inherent part of cyberpunk. I think you have to have it's without the hope that these systems can change and these things can be brought down, then cyberpunk is a really bleak genre, and I don't think it's that bleak. I think everything can be brought down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is an under-recognized hallmark of the literary genre of cyberpunk, where what was the book that we read about the riggers? I can't think of the title or the author. Hardwired. I wanted to say Hardware, but that's an Australian movie with Lemmy in it.
Walter John Williams.
Yes. I mean, Hardwired, they don't win, but they definitely don't lose.
Yeah. They make serious steps towards winning.
The whole Sprawl trilogy, there might not necessarily be a win condition in those books, but our protagonists over the course of them changed the fabrics and structures of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of the corporations will probably continue to exist, but they will continue to exist at the sufferance of other forces.
Even in Shadowrun, the megacorps are frequently brought down. I mean, they're usually replaced by something equally bad, and maybe that's the point he's getting at, is that the system can't be brought down. But I would still argue that, like, you have to have some hope that the system can be brought down, or else what story are we telling here?
I mean, you can absolutely do that. I mean, everybody. Okay, maybe not everybody. Some people can totally get behind. Yeah, okay, we're doing revolutionary sacrifice to make a point without actually achieving goals. But I think overall that's. I think that hope is maybe not necessarily inherent to it, but it is not detrimental to the cyberpunk. Having hope as an aspect is not in any way canceling out cyberpunkness. I mean,
he's saying part of the optimism of cyberpunk isn't about overthrowing the system. It's about finding your place in the world and finding your community, basically. And I think that's true for some stories, but I think other stories, it's about bringing the system down.
Yeah, that's certain. I mean, that's certainly a thing that can happen. I mean, there are, Shadowrun again. There are good examples of, in the expanded universe and kind of backstory and stuff like that, of Shadowrun, runners basically. They are finding their place in the world. In most of the books, megacorps don't get brought down.
Yeah.
Or governments don't get brought down. Most of the books don't kill the 15 guy team from the fucking Redmond Barons isn't killing fucking Dunkelzahn to bring about a communist revolution.
Although somebody killed Dunkelzahn.
Did they?
I think you mean Lawfare.
Wait, was it Mr. Burns?
Shut up.
No, it was Maggie Simpson that killed Mr. Burns. Sorry, I meant Maggie Simpson, but I got stuck on who killed Mr. Burns.
The point is, I don't know if there is a point. I respect all the arguments he's putting forth. I don't know that I agree with the majority of them because, for one thing, it's a big genre. You can tell stories in different ways, and we've always said there's no black and white cyberpunk, not cyberpunk, and he's even agreeing to that.
Well, except for the Johnny Mnemonic black and white edition that we watched the Blu-ray of approximately 1 year ago today.
Oh yeah, true. That is the only black and white cyberpunk.
And Burst City.
And Burst, God damn it. Okay, we'll probably run into something else too at some point.
Almost certainly. I don't. And Kevin, your arguments are not bad. They are arguments I disagree with, but they are arguments to be had. I'm not rejecting them out of hand by any means.
No, I think it's fun stuff to talk about, and it's why nerds start podcasts.
Oh, fuck. Anyway, go read The Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, read The Maltese Falcon. Play Cyberpunk 2077. Let's see, I had another one. Oh, actually, no, we had some emails from Travis and Sydney who...
Oh, yes.
Might be a guest at some point. I don't know if there's a point in reading them out. I'm saying that.
Speaking of hardware.
Yeah, he wrote articles on hardware. Mm-hmm. Was it on Hardwired?
Hardware.
Okay.
Yes, Hardware, the Richard Stanley movie featuring Lemmy.
He also had an article about The Fifth Element.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't give you a hyperlink through my voice, so I guess I'll just shout him out.
And I cannot find that in my email because I have too many mails.
Yeah, see, the bright side is I could just go through the High Tech Low Life account, and I forward you everything, but it goes to your regular email, which gets buried.
Yeah, I have 9. I have too much.
Mine just gets buried in voicemails from Sean.
Hi, Sean.
We have
love
many. You. And I love every single goddamn one. All right, I got some Spotify questions.
Oh boy.
We have a guy who frequently comments
very
on
normal people on Spotify.
Some of them rule. Like this Wolf on Two Legs guys comments on a lot of our episodes, and he says nice things. For example, he said stoked that we finally covered sneakers. He says when I have new players for Shadowrun, I tell them to watch sneakers, and I get a feel for what the game should feel like. He also brought up something on the Captain Laserhawk that I was thinking about after we recorded it.
Ooh.
He said some context about this show might help with the confusion. It was made by Adi Shankar, a guy who created what he calls bootleg universes, where he twists around a known IP in a crazy ways. He's a big nerd with cool dreams. I honestly hope someone gives him more IPs to fuck with. He also gave Pokemon this treatment in a short video, and he links to that treatment.
Oh, okay.
Which I watched earlier today, and it's fucking fantastic. And I'm not even I've got no context for what Pokemon is, but
I know you got to catch them all. But
yeah,
that's about it. Yeah, I can recognize.
Much like Astronomica cast members, you got to catch them all.
Exactly. I said that last week.
I will link it in our chat, and you can watch it at some point. But it's
he's the same guy who did the Castlevania animated series.
Yeah, and I realized we kind of didn't talk about him that much.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it for a hot second.
I think we mentioned Castlevania, and then we didn't. I don't even know if we said his name. But it's definitely worth shouting out. He's doing some interesting stuff. This Pokemon thing is bonkers. It's like, what if Pokemon was in a hard-boiled world where they suddenly realized these monsters were slaves and needed to be set free, and then basically a rebellion around freeing the Pokemon, and then the consequences of freeing monsters into civilized society.
And also, they are monsters. That's important.
They are.
It is short for pocket monster.
Yeah. So
one of the, again, very few things I know about Pokemon.
Thanks, Wolf on Two Legs, for commenting. He's commented on a lot of our episodes, and I read them all and enjoy them. Okay. I also want to read...
Maybe pick up an RSS feed.
What?
Maybe pick up an RSS feed.
Lots of people use Spotify these days.
I don't know, man. It seems unnatural to me.
It's weird, but I think it's the majority of the way, at least from our numbers, it's the majority of the way people listen to podcasts.
Yeah. Not comfortable with it. But go ahead.
I'm going to read my favorite Spotify comment we've got.
Okay.
This is on episode 78, They Live. And I've shared it with you already.
Oh, yes.
2 hours, 41 minutes, and 52 seconds of patting yourselves on the back for being more versed in Marxist theory than John Carpenter. I hope you got something out of that, because I certainly didn't.
I knew there was patting yourselves on the back. I could not remember if there was a congratulations involved. Yeah, that's a good bit of business.
Oh, man. Some of the negative comments make me feel bad. That one makes me happy, because that's exactly what that episode was. He's not wrong, and he's not wrong to hate it. Like, I can't blame him.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's very possible I've read more Marxist theory than John Carpenter, and that's totally fine. Not everybody needs to read that shit.
Yeah, it's a fun episode, though. We had fun making it.
Yeah, and John Carpenter rules. I mean, whether or not he's read Marxist theory, John Carpenter is clearly King Grump of all grumps. So,
here's a fun comment. The most vicious argument on the RoboCop Part 1. The most vicious argument I've ever had with my cousin was about whether Robo's face and underlying structure is real or not. A filmmaker interview on the DVD special features settled it for us. Robo's face is fake.
Ah, okay.
Also mentioned via dialogue in the sequel.
I totally believe that. I have not seen the sequel probably since it very first appeared on HBO, in 1992 or whatever.
We are definitely going to cover it at some point.
Almost certainly.
Yeah, we got a bunch. There's a ton of comments on Spotify. I don't think I even send them all to you, and I don't know how you would read them without going through every episode, because it's through the creator portal. But
I know I have looked at a couple. Similarly to the way I've looked at some of the comments on our YouTube posts. But.
Yeah, I forgot to check those, but I don't think we've had one in a while. Here's another one from Wolf on Two Legs about Total Recall. Odd bit of trivia, they had Piers Anthony write the novel adaptation of the film, but he changed up the ending. Yeah. The aliens look like ants, and the whole atmosphere reactor was made as a test for humans. Would humans risk using it or not? Like, that's the test. Its activation became a signal sent out to aliens that humanity was ready for contact. The beacons were lit. In this context, it was not a dream at all. That's a bold choice for a novelization of a movie to completely change it.
Okay, and I know enough about movie novelizations because I read a lot of them as a kid, and I've heard a decent amount about them. Like, based on the way those things are often written, the authors don't typically get much, if any, leeway. But the thing is, they're working on a script that might be they're working off of a script that might be 2 years old and have almost no relevance to the shot product. Yeah. There's an author that we will 100% cover someday, Bruce Bethke, who wrote the novel Head Crash. He wrote the novelization of Wild Wild West.
Cowpunk.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. And he wrote a couple of extensive blog posts about what writing a novelization of a movie was, and like kind of what that meant, and like the whole. I'm given to understand that the back half, or like back third of that novel is totally different. The novelization is totally different from what the movie was, because they were fucking shooting the movie to make a release date, and you got to have a fucking book done long before that.
Yeah,
in terms of editing and printing and stuff like that. And I think, if I remember right, that book actually came out like 2 months before the movie did.
That does change things.
Yeah, it's totally fucking different. And I've heard a number of other authors talk about when they've done adaptations. Just some
that word again.
Oh God!
We still have these words.
These words. There's a reference to something better forgotten.
Oh, it's a reference for no
years
one.
Ago. Exactly like Treach. Yeah, so I don't know. I sure, maybe Pierce Anthony did do that. On the other hand, maybe that's just the script he was handed from.
True.
Before Verhoeven was ever involved.
Who fucking knows?
Hard to say.
Well, anyway, thank you, everybody who contacts us in any way. Except for the dicks. Yeah. I mean, even some of the dicks. We love Dick here. Dick alert. Dick alert. Dick alert. I have gotten so much enjoyment mileage out of I think it was a Spotify comment that you relayed to me a while back. Yeah. I've like it enrages me in a humorous way. Like, you've mentioned it several times, and I've cut it both times because I don't want to give that person I know the joy of hearing their comment in case they're still listening, because I know a lot of you haters still listen. Yeah. But yeah, same 100% same. All right, we gotta wrap this shit up and fuck off for the summer. That sounds like a plan. We are a quote for this week, Eric. I could find one. I get to put you on the fucking. No, I don't think I have one. I'm not going to quote some of these dickheads. I do want to plug our Patreon though. Patreon.com/hightechlowlife. We're hoping to get something out soon. Pretty quick, yeah. To tide us all over for the summer. Maybe we'll do a couple if we have a little extra time. We might be able to get 2 banked. So look for that, and it's only $5. But if you don't want to pay $5, I get it. Yeah, I probably get it to you some other way. And that was going to be my next line. Like, draw me a line. We can probably work something out. We could probably work it out. We're not gatekeeping our own content. We just need a little help paying for the incidentals. Yeah. And then our social media, Bluesky is High Tech Low Life on Bluesky, and I'm the frog with the 0, and he's actually your count 0 with an X, right? I believe that's correct, but I'm not going to look it up. I don't care that much. Yeah. And if you want to have some fun conversations, go to the Astronomica Discord, linked with a permanent, what is it? What's Colin say? Non-inspiring link, non-expiring inspiring. Yes, a permanent non-inspiring link at astronomicapodcast.com. We have our own channel in there. They graciously allow us a little space
to talk cyberpunk fucking bullshit, and also listen to Astronomica. I mean,
their podcast gets pretty cyberpunk sometimes.
Yeah, and they're our best podcast friends.
Yeah. It's always nice to have a BFPCF podcast. Is one word.
And we are working our way through collecting them all. You know,
gonna put them in little balls and keep them in our pockets to be unleashed and fight each other. Ooh, I do kind of want to do the Astronomica cast as Pokemon now.
Yeah.
If only I knew anything about Pokemon. The concept would be great if just we knew anything about it.
Maybe Katrina is a Pikachu. I don't know anything about it.
I don't know.
Like, the most I know is some vague shit I've picked up from memes, like a Charizard. I know that's a thing.
Yeah. Watch the video I linked. You'll know a little bit more that is completely the wrong context. Anyway,
Vaporeon is fuckable based on other memes I've seen. I don't know.
I mean, they're all fuckable if you try hard enough. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go away. I don't have a quote. So everybody have a great summer.
Yeah. Everybody enjoy the most cyberpunk season of all, summer, and make sure you take respirators and stuff if you're going to go out and protest.
Clean pepper spray out with water only, from what I've been told.
Milk is semi-effective, but God, you're really looking for fucking eye infections and shit if you're doing that.
Just use water.
Yeah, water is as good as you're going to get, really.
Mask up. Don't bring your phones. Don't bring your phones to protests.
Do not bring your phones to protests. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you when we see you.
Bye-bye.
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Bluesky at High Tech Low Life. Email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving. Come on, what are you waiting on? Let's go.
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Trashing! Trashing!
Everybody,
Hide the